shit. Let's begin, folks. We're very, very, very late. Quickly give me a cheer and we will begin. It's 8:12. Come on in. Come on in. Let's have the show that we deserve, folks. There are some people joining in finally. I'm waiting in your closet. 8:14. Good morning, Nishant, says Mr. Abhishek Sharma. Mr. Abhishek Sharma, you come from a different handle today. Am I audible? We are very late. Good morning, Nishant, says Mr. Ashutosh Bhandekar. Oh, so now they've done, instead of the name, they're giving name of the channel handle. Okay. So am I audible, folks? Should we begin? Good morning. Good morning. Should we begin the show that we deserve? Yup, audible, says Mr. Sharma. All right. Well, bum 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 bum. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We are having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We are working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Well, not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout. A daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go. But before we go, gotta follow tradition. Can't let this tradition go. The sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip. We'll all sip something together and bring us good luck, as it always does, without fail, every day. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen jug, a flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. I like hot water with some black pepper in it. And here we go. Nice. I'll do it again. Beautiful. Healing. Sublime. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what it says? It says that you are not alone. It says that we are in this together. And that's such a beautiful thing to say. With that out of the way, silver has beaten gold, scorching 11,000 run up in a day. 8% rise in a day. Silver, 8% rise in a day, man. Can you imagine this? Silver prices scaled a new peak of 1.73 lakh per kg after an unprecedented single day gain of 11,000 rupees per kg. With the GST tax of 3%, a kg silver now costs 1.78 lakhs. Okay. It's a staggering rise of 57.69% over the past month, 85% since 2025. 85%, folks. Silver, just silver, has risen 85%. So the stocks are up, the bond yields are up, or stable, let's say. Real estate is up, the debt is up, and silver and gold are also up. So there's nothing that is down right now. Okay, it's all up. It's all up. So even if you were the most conservative of investors, right? If you would have put money on silver in 2025 beginning, 1 lakh rupees, you'll almost be double of what you were, right? So most conservative of investors have had a very good run, which is a signal, folks, which is a signal. Gold has also risen, rallied 1,950 to 1,27,950 rupees. So gold is up, silver is up. This is interesting. There should have been at least some impact of Gaza-Israel peace deal. Yeah, so that had an impact, Mr. Sharma. That had an impact on the US stock market. That went up, right? The stocks were very happy. US was very happy. And we're going to talk about the Gaza peace deal, which is interesting, which is very interesting. And the ramifications of it are also very interesting. However, the finance world has problems, or let's say issues, which are far and beyond what's going on in the geopolitical world, right? So usually these things are very related, and they are. But right now what it seems like is that there is some underlying issue with the finance ecosystem, which is just decoupled from the geopolitical space. So these problems are these, the finance guys alone. So that's the play. That's silver and gold. Speaking of Gaza and the Gaza peace deal, the Israel peace deal, Mr. Trump, you got to give him some respect in that. He's probably proven to be the best president of United States ever, right? Because nobody saw this coming. Nobody essentially believed this would happen. Many people, including myself, thought we were very skeptical of how this deal is gonna shape up, whether Hamas is gonna agree to give up power in Gaza, right? And that happened. That essentially happened. So it's just extraordinary what has happened in this particular play. Nobody believed that Israel's Mr. Netanyahu will agree to this deal, because he believed in just finishing the problem once and for all. He just believed in taking it over, right? Those were the ideas earlier, that you'll take it over and then you'll have a new establishment. All of those people will be moved to a different place and stuff like that. But nobody believed that this could happen. Nobody believed that everybody would agree to this. And you've got to give Trump credit for all of this. Nobody has been able to do that. Previous American presidents were all pro-war. They started new wars all the time, every time. This is a president who at least has shown a very, very clear desire of stopping wars, right? He's been very, very anti-Russia-Ukraine war. He's tried to talk to everybody, getting them deals, right? No new wars started at America's behest. In the previous administrations, we had Russia-Ukraine. Barack Obama's administration, we had Russia-Ukraine. We had, Libyan war. We had so many wars. It's just hard to count, right? The Syrian conflict also. So this is pretty interesting. It's just amazing what has happened. At the same time, when it comes to Russia-Ukraine war, US is talking about giving Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine to essentially counter Russia. Russia has said that if US gives those Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, the implications of that could be far-reaching and very complicated, right? So let's see what happens there. At this moment, everybody's talking on gold and silver. and all the safest, basically these are the safest havens possible. Speaking of Indian economy, I mean, talking about geopolitical things can be complicated, of course, because that's in nobody's control. India's inflation has come down to an 8-year low of 1.5%. Food prices have really cooled down. The core inflation counted, it's still okay, but prices have really tapered down. It's very comfortable what's going on right now, right? Retail inflation eased to 1.5% year on year, September lowest since June 2007, primarily by decline in food prices. This is very interesting. If this particular play continues, right? If inflation, and it will continue. So what people are saying, that it's projected to go even lower, the food prices and the food inflation essentially. It's gonna go even further, retail inflation down. If this happens, RBI will be forced to reduce rates. So a December rate cut will be very likely. If that December rate cut happens, you're gonna see even more loan activity. With more loan activity, you'll see even more money supply. With more money supply, you'll be seeing faster economic growth and so on and so forth. So the government is really looking at something like an 8%, and that could be possible if inflation is controlled to this extent. So let me give you a number, right? So core inflation is at 4.5%, mainly due to higher gold prices, because gold has like 47% of inflation. But overall retail inflation is just next level. Vegetable prices fell 21%, pulses fell 15%, onions 49%, and so on and so forth, right? Only oils and fats recorded some inflation, 18%, but otherwise inflation is down low. Inflation down low means rate cuts are gonna happen. They're gonna spearhead a little bit of inflation, right? But with that will come growth. With that will come higher lending activity, more jobs, and so on and so on and so on. So we've discussed that. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency know. So I'm not gonna repeat unless somebody wants how the rate cuts usually happen. So I'll just give you a brief. Rate cut, what does that mean? It controls the money supply. What's the government's job essentially? Many people think government's job is, let's say, fixing law and order or whatever, right? People have different ideas. But the only control government has is the control on money, right? Money is what the government controls. How does it control the money? It controls the supply of money by enabling people to lend or borrow, right? When it controls the supply of money, how does it control the supply of money? It essentially settles interest rates, that this is the interest at which you can borrow money. Now when that happens, it determines everything as far as the whole flow of money is considered. The interest at which somebody can borrow money determines how much money will be in the market, right? Which in turn determines what will be the prices of things and what will be the wages that people get for jobs. How many people will companies be able to hire, and so on and so forth. So that's what's going on. If inflation is low, that means things are not expensive, right? Things are cheap. So what are you going to do? You're going to reduce rates. You're going to increase the supply of money. When you increase the supply of money, you're going to be making things a little more expensive, because there's going to be a lot of money for the limited thing, right? Demand and supply, and so on. So that's what's happening. What happened? Is something wrong with my connections? That's strange. Anyway, moving on. That's what's going on, folks. This is very strange. Okay. So, government industry executives are discussing FDI policy for e-commerce and retail. E-commerce and retail, we've talked about this. FDI in retail is a complicated play, right? Especially e-commerce, because there's a notification, or let's say a regulation about inventory-led and marketplace norms, right? Blinkit is an inventory-led platform. It can hold inventory as a part of its quick commerce routine. How can it hold inventory? Because It can essentially, it's domestically owned. The company is more or less domestically, it's majority owned by Indian operators or Indian shareholders, right? Swiggy, Instamart cannot hold inventory because it's it's foreign owned. So majority of shareholding in Swiggy and Instamart is basically overseas investors hold majority of it. Now this is something that the government is consulting with the stakeholders, whether this can be edited or whether this needs to change in order to increase the ease of doing business, so to speak, right? So that's what's happening. Government and industry executives are discussing FDI policy. What's going on YouTube, folks? What is going on YouTube? Is everything okay on YouTube? Something happened in this world? I don't know what. All good. All good. Okay. So you are still here. But the YouTube count, it was at 10 and then it fell to 0. And right now it's all 0. So concurrent viewers on YouTube was 10 and then it became 0. And I'm like, where did everybody go? This was very strange. But I'm glad you're all here. So there's probably a bug. Moving on. So India and US are talking about a trade deal, right? Which is obviously the BTA, the bilateral trade agreement. It's facing a lot of flux because of whatever is going on with US, in US, with China, and so on. At this moment, we are trying to negotiate the terms of it. In this particular play, what's also happening is the government trying to fix the maritime play. How is the government trying to fix the marine fisheries kind of a play? They are giving them an 8,000 crore scheme. They're mulling on a scheme of 8,000 crores to help the fisheries guys, the shrimp guys, and so on and so forth, to offset the losses that they're making because of the US tariff situation. So US tariff situation has led to a lot of problem for the $10 billion fisheries industry of India. But now, what can the government do to essentially offset the risk, offset the losses, right? It can find alternate markets, which it's trying to do. China said that they're going to take our fisheries products and so on and so forth. Russia said as well. But, they're not that big economies. Shrimp goes to US. What else can you do? You can incentivize the scheme. You can have some sort of easier credit norms and so on and so on and so on. So that's what's going on with fisheries at this moment. Washington remains shut. The US government is in a shutdown. Mr. Abhishek Sharma asks, one question, up to what extent does type of model, inventory marketplace, decide profitability? Okay, so inventory-led model has a higher working capital play, but easier turnaround time, easier cost of operation, easier, it's so just think of it this way. So you have marketplaces where you cannot hold inventory and you got to basically order things from sellers in order to make the shipments, right? In inventory, you don't have to do that. So you keep the inventory yourselves instead of depending on sellers. So there's an ease of operations which is just unparalleled as far as an inventory-led operation business is considered. When it comes to ease of operations also improves the profitability profile, because in a lot of ways, it's your inventory, it's your warehouse, and you're free to keep it, and you can stock it up. You don't have to be the just-in-time play where you're getting everything from a seller per order basis and so on and so forth. So it improves turnaround times, which improves velocity of the inventory, which improves cash flow, which improves everything else. So inventory-led model essentially helps the companies a lot. However, if you get into an inventory-led model, what happens is that you essentially become too powerful and it risks monopolization. Oh yeah, that's what Mr. Sumant Kumar said it can lead to monopoly, right? So that's exactly what it leads to. The risk is that you become the holder of uh, the thing, and it's not like you own the brand. So monopolization is when you also own the brand, but there is a concentration of all sorts of power, so to speak, at the e-commerce ecosystem. So that's a risk of an inventory-led model, a very big risk. Also, but does Instamart also have some a sort of inventory via dark stores? Mr. Abhishek Sharma. So it's not just Instamart. So what has happened is, if you look at Indian e-commerce companies, right, they were not legally allowed to do inventory led e-commerce, okay? But what essentially happened, so they just very very clearly, brazenly ignored the law, and what they did was they did in marketplace model, but they ran it as an inventory model. How? Whoever were the sellers, they were their own companies. So you remember Flipkart, Amazon, WS Retail, and so on and so forth. So Amazon and Flipkart, even though they were not allowed to do, uh, you know, inventory-led marketplace, they were not allowed to run it, but they essentially ran the inventory-led marketplace throughout, because that was the only cloud tail. Yeah, Mr. Sumant Kumar, you're right. So WS Retail, Cloud Tail, Amazon worked with Catamaran Ventures, right? Narayan Murthy, Mr. Narayan Murthy's company. So they just openly violated law by being inventory led and showing it as a marketplace kind of a thing, right? So of course it is a regulatory gray area. However, the government has put its foot down, and you see what's happening, right? There are still a lot of facets to inventory led which make it great. So Zomato is pretty free, eternal, domestically owned company majority wise. So it's inventory led. It's gonna save a lot. Instamart not so much. Moving on. So that's what's going on. Israel, everything is cool. Besant says Trump and Xi meeting on. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Besant, he says Trump and Xi will still meet. So if you remember, Trump had written a lot about how he wouldn't meet Xi anymore because he's, captured the rare earth situation in a very unfair kind of a way, and it'll come to him punishing Xi and so on and so forth. But in a day, he had to chicken out, as the meme said, and he said, no, it's very, we're not gonna. China doesn't want a depression of its economy, and neither do I. So it's still on. Everything is still on in China. Basically, US is very, very logged in the China situation. It's totally dependent on China for everything, and it doesn't have any chips, so to speak. So when it said we have, for every piece of negotiation play, we have two. When Trump said that, that was just an open bluff, which everybody caught, right? Because he doesn't have any chips. China holds all the cards right now, unfortunately. Speaking of which, Mr. Sridhar Vembu has come out with a statement, an interesting statement. So he says that tech can be used as a weapon, right? Weaponization of tech in trade is a very real possibility. And if it's such a real possibility, India needs to embrace the China model of having its own tech companies, which is obviously the right thing to do, right? Now, everybody, the free market guys, the globalists will say that is protectionism, that is wrong, and so on and so forth. The best product should win, and so on. But that's all bunch of bullshit, right? There is no best product. There is nothing such as a best product. What is a best product? Where do best products come from, right? Is it just human will? Is it just business ingenuity, a technological superiority which leads to best products? No. If that was the case, China would have never gotten any tech products. China would have never gotten DeepSeek. China would have never gotten Alibaba, and so on and so forth, right? Tech prowess or ingenuity or best products are basically the direct result of political will, right? Political will decides what kind of companies exist, what kind of companies thrive, and what kind of companies die. That's all political will. And what Mr. Sridhar Vembu is saying, he's urging the political will to essentially encourage local internet tech companies, which is actually a very, very good thing, right? So a lot of people are talking about how it's bad for Indian government to be promoting a Sanghi company called Zoho, which is an Indian company, right? It's a very, very bad thing because it's an Indian company. It's a Tamil grassroots organization. It's just an extremely inspiring company, and if they can take the place of the global giants, right, nothing better than that. But that's also related to the Trump Xi play. Now that China has all the tech, right, even the software tech running on its own, it's crazy, right? US can't do anything about it. So that's that. And maybe if India is lucky, it could have something like that, especially in AI. Mr. Sumant Kumar writes, anyone heard about Luna, a voice agent developed in India? There was Gnani, the voice model, Gnani. There was Bhashini. Luna, I have heard, but I didn't know if it was Indian, right? Yeah, so a voice agent, a lot of voice agents are getting developed in India. And what I'm talking about is the fundamental model level intelligence, the core, right? Moving on. Bira is looking at a risk of continuing operations. So Grant Thornton, its auditing company, has come out by saying that Bira is an ongoing concern because the company's net worth has completely eroded at this moment of time. So the company's net worth, Bira, the beer company, has completely eroded. It had a very interesting play. So we've talked about this, viewers of Thinkers Frequency know, but Bira wanted to go public. So it changed its name from B9 Beverages Private Limited to B9 Beverages Limited, right? And that one name change essentially ruined all the inventory it had in the market, and that sort of screwed everything up, right? Because all the labeling essentially went out of the play, and with that labeling down went the company, because you cannot operate legally. And again, the strict compliance system essentially just took the company. It's not that the company was making money before that. No, the company was never making money. It was essentially giving free beers to people thanks to VCs. But at least it wasn't in dire straits. Now the company is in dire straits, and the founder is saying that this is boilerplate language and we'll manage. There's a lot of money that's going to come to us with the investments that we're going to have, and so on and so forth. So Bira might just be looking at a real trouble. Before I forget, folks, share this. We need to grow 9 people on YouTube right now, and how many people on LinkedIn? Some 4 people on LinkedIn. That's how we are usually, right? Please share it. Bring your people. Share it on WhatsApp, wherever you can. Whatever you can do to grow the effort, please do, because it needs to grow to be sustainable, right? That's the play. Moving on. Nuclear power. Nuclear power is obviously one of the biggest greenfield opportunities for the country and the world right now, right? India is mulling a 49% FDI in nuclear power, right? Mandated to draw up a plan for 100 megawatt nuclear power capacity by 2047. Has proposed opening up the sector to 49% of foreign funding, shielding private firms of civil liability. So the biggest reason why foreign investment would be very wary of coming to India, because in the nuclear power play, was the aspect of civil liability, right? So the government is essentially, is taking it away. It's sort of giving it indemnity for the companies, that there won't be any civil liability issues if in case some accidents happen. So that's the trade-off. Obviously it doesn't mean that the safety has been compromised. Nothing like that is to be said. The safety, the onus lies on the Indian government and the Indian unit and so on. So nuclear power is amongst the very few industries which have the potential to grow 10x, even more, right? So there's nuclear power, there's the GLP thing, weight loss thing, there's satcom. Which else? Which other industry was gonna grow 10x, right? So these were the three industries that I found out. Was there any other industry which had the potential to grow like these three? Let me think. Nuclear is definitely a greenfield. GLP drugs is gonna grow no matter what. Uh, then there was Satcom, of course, 10x in the next 2 years. I'm missing out on one industry which had the potential. We've discussed it, I think, but that's okay. Moving on. Moving on. Emirates NBD reading $1.7 billion semiconductor, says Mr. Sumant Kumar. Semiconductor industry, of course, it's right here and it has the potential. So you are right. You're right. Uh, Moving on, Emirates NBD readying $1.7 billion check for RBL bank control. So there's a lot of action happening as far as the banking place considered. If you remember, Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, Sumitomo Mitsui, SMBC. SMBC is buying Yes Bank, right? Emirates NBD is gonna buy RBL. So this is primary capital via preference allotment warrants will trigger open offer. So it's gonna buy something and then the open offer which will take over the bank, right? So that's what's going on. RBL shareholding is right 47% public, 29% mutual funds, 17% FIIs. They're gonna have an initial play and then overall takeover of the company. Mr. Ashutosh Bhandikar wrote, "My generation has a timing issue," and then you deleted the message. Okay, why is that? Do you mean that your young people don't wake up early? Is that the issue? Well, I agree. I used to be one of those guys, right? I used to sleep at 6. I understand their trouble. All sympathies. uh, Keen on data centers, Andhra aims for 6 gigawatt plan. So, State IT Minister Nara Lokesh points to job creation, says must embrace AI. So, Mr. Nara Lokesh says that Vizag, Vishakhapatnam is going to be the economic capital for Andhra, and also AI is going to happen. If you don't do it, it'll happen to you. You'll make it happen. So he has a startup speak happening with AI, and he says as a state we're going to be very very solid as far as AI investments are considered. So the whole aspect of the Google data deal and so on and so forth, that's crazy whatever is happening. All credits to Mr. Chandrababa Naidu. He's doing an exceptional job. Foxconn doubles down on ops in Tamil Nadu. Well, that's okay. 15,000 crore in push in emerging tech manufacturing to create 14,000 jobs. So, guys, viewers of Thinkers Frequency, you remember what the biggest problem with India was, right? The Indian economy. You remember the two problems with the Indian economy that we talked about for over 140 episodes now? The two big problems with Indian economy. Do you remember those? You remember those? The two big problems. One was domestic consumption, and what was the other one? It was private capex, right? So private capex is starting to line up. We are looking at a lot of private capex happening. Earlier, whatever private capex was happening, it was happening in the power sector, right? That's not cool. Now we are beginning to get some sort of news from the data center market, the semiconductor play, the electronics manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Now 15,000 crores is being lined up for the Tamil Nadu plant, which is amazing, right? Which is amazing. So this is one of those things that have started happening. If this continues, India's problems will get solved, at least economically. That'll be awesome, right? That'll be awesome. Speaking of nuclear tech, speaking of clean energy, Reuters came out with an article which said that we have passed the tipping point after which climate changes destroys the planet. Climate change destroys the planet. So we've passed the tipping point where climate change destroys the planet. So according to the report of Reuters, the planet is doomed. Okay, it's doomed. We are past the tipping point. So there's nothing that you can do. It's we are past the point where the climate could be saved due to the risk of climate change. The world could be saved due to the risk of climate change. This already happened. Now my concern is, if we are already past the tipping point when the world is gonna end because of climate change, how you're just writing a one small article? It's supposed to be the biggest news piece, right? Its biggest news piece. It's supposed to be that the world is going to end now, guys. We are past the point where we could save the world because of climate change, and the world will now end. And all you have for that is one small tiny article. One article which says the world is done, bro. That's it. So if this was a true news, like, the world will be in chaos, right? People will be having sex with strangers, right? Because it's all over. It's all over, folks. It's don't look up happening in the real world, right? So climate models have been total bullshit, and people are starting to take them less seriously now, right? They're really taking them less seriously. Germany has said that maybe we need to focus on the greenfield technologies of drone manufacturing and of robot manufacturing, because China is taking all of them, has taken all of them. China has like the dump of robots. It's probably made more robots than all the rest of the world combined, while we have been focusing on curbing emissions and thinking about green deals and so on and so forth. So that's what's happening. The beauty is China has not just taken over all sorts of manufacturing of robots, of drones and stuff like that. It's also been the leader in green play. So it's taken everything. Mr. Amrit Raj says, I'm glad they didn't waste a lot of paper writing that article. But isn't climate change a real problem yet? So, Mr. Raj, I mean, I'm happy that they didn't write too many articles on it. They just wrote one small article saying that it's done. The world is gonna end, right? So that's good on them. At least they saved paper, right? And about climate change being a real problem, so I was reading a report which pointed out all the articles that were written about climate change. Okay, now the climate change article said that in 1930 that it's gonna end in 30 years, right? In 1940s that it's gonna end, the world is gonna end in 30 years, 40 years. In 1950s, in 1960s, it said that the world will end in 20 years, right? 1970s, 80s, the world will end. 1990s, Al Gore came, won the Nobel Prize or whatever for the documentary that the world will end in 2000. Movies got made. The Day After Tomorrow, Dennis Squad, great movie. The world will end, right? 2000s, the world will end. Greta Thunberg came over. She said the world is gonna end by 2020, and then she deleted that tweet, right? The world will end by 2020. Now people are saying that the world has ended, right? Now they say there's no hope. So these things, these climate models have been consistently wrong, and now for about 100 years, right? So the question is, do you trust them? Now, I have always said that 10-year projections are total bullshit, right? Always. Nobody knows what happens in 10 years. Ferrari thought it's going to make 40% of its vehicles electric by 2030, right? It was a 10-year projection written in 2022. Just 4 years later, they said, no, we're not going to do that, only 20%, right? The world changes in a lot of ways people don't realize. So, climate change is a bit of an issue. Of course, there are changes in weather pattern, but the contrary perspective is how much of that is actually related to human activity. A lot of it is solar flares and so on and so forth. So you never know. It's basically nobody knows, right? All we know is that the climate models have proven to be wrong, and they've been consistently wrong, and they've been wrong forever, and they've been hilariously wrong. So there's this new report which came out. Trump administration published it, right? And it published the report which said how climate hoax has been consistently wrong about science, right? So they gave a scientific answer to all the models that the pro climate people came out with, and they wrote a huge report about it, right? They published a huge scientific answer to all these problems, and nobody questioned them. So the people who wrote those climate models, which the report called as bullshit, none of those writers and publishers of those report came to defend their work, right? So why would you not come to defend your work if it's a science discussion, right? We talk about science a lot. If it's a science discussion, why would you not defend your work like that, right? Maybe even they know that their models are shit, right? Maybe even they know that their models are nothing but a crock of bullshit laid on projections which didn't make any sense made on assumptions that are funny, hilarious, right? And then you come out with the small articles saying that, you know, the world has ended. We are past the tipping points, guys. It's done. It's over. But a very small article. And in the right beside that article, they're discussing other things. Got it. Thanks. So the models have been erroneous continuously, but the changes are evident, and also the models are questionable. Noted, says Mr. Amrit Raj. Moving on. France is eyeing Pinnac. France, the supplier of our Rafale aircrafts. Dassault is a French company. They are looking at buying Pinnac. Pinnac is essentially the long-range missiles India made, indigenously made, which work very well, apparently. So they are evaluating those missiles. How funny would it be if France took India's missiles, right? Pinnac, which India made thanks to Russia, right? And it made it well. So Russia helped them with the tech transfer. They worked together. India made a missile which worked well. Now France buys that missile, takes it to France, and then uses it on Russia. How hilarious would that be? Right? Because Russia and NATO are at war essentially. Russia and Europe, right? So how hilarious would it be if France took India's missiles, which India made because of Russia, and then loads those missiles on Russia? Not cool. Not cool. Moving on. But that is life, right? That is life. So once again, folks, I want you to please keep sharing this thing with whoever. I got a message on WhatsApp from somebody. Hey, Nishant, I'm starting up. I'm watching this, and it's very nice. Thank you for all the work you do at Thinkers Frequency. It's this and that. He wrote a long message, and I'm like, please praise in public, folks. Please praise in public. It's going to help the effort, right? Moving on. Tata Cap's IPO didn't do that well, right? Not much of a pop. So people are scared. But LG had a strong opening. So both mega IPOs. Tata Capital, not that great. Stock list at 330, likely to stay largely range bound. Analyst market cap at 140 crore. So it's not Tata Cap's fault. It's just the valuation itself is so huge, right? You're looking at a $15 billion valuation, and so on and so forth. Done, Nishant. Check your LinkedIn post. Okay. Says Mr. Ashutosh Bhandekar. Thank you. All right. Yeah, always, I don't know. I didn't see anything, Mr. Bhandekar, so you could message me. But anyway, moving on. Lenskart IPOs to come in early November. They're not clear on what valuation they are going to be, right? Fourth largest IPO, it's going to be 8,000 crores. But they were earlier looking at a $10 billion valuation. And now it's not so clear how much they're going to value themselves at. Right value for Lenskart would be around $6 billion. 5.5, 6 billion. Maybe even 7 billion, right? But not more than that. Anything above that would be overvalued. and anything bad happens to market, Lenskart's value will go down in half. So let's say if it lists at $10 billion valuation and something wrong happens to the market, it's just gonna go half of what it is right now. Everybody's gonna lose half of their money, which is not nice. Which is exactly why I wrote the article, right? That hey, the company has a chance to fairly value itself so everybody can gain, like Urban Company did, right? Now, Urban Company valued itself as, uh, $1.7 billion. Could it not have valued itself at $2 billion, $2.5 billion? Definitely. It could have sold itself up. It could have looked at least a $2.1 billion, which is what it was valued at 4 years ago, right? So a lot of things could have happened, but they valued themselves so fairly. The IPO got subscribed so heavily, right? And now the company is getting valued at $3 billion. So they did the right things. They kept money on the table and retail investors benefited. They earned a lot of goodwill, right? Lenskart, it did the opposite. It tried to juice people by valuing itself at $10 billion. So there would essentially be no upside. And the problem with Lenskart is that it operates in a very competitive market, right? There is a lot of competition. You have local peers, you have global peers, you have so many people to look at. So how are you actually valuing yourself at that revenue multiple? Well, all the companies in your domain are getting valued at a much lesser revenue multiple, even though they are growing faster than you at 10x your scale, right? At 10x your sales. So they're growing faster than you. Like Titan has 10x the scale and it's growing at a faster rate than Lenskart. And even then, Titan gets a lower revenue multiple than Lenskart. It doesn't make any sense, right? So if it values itself at $10 billion, it's gonna go down. Mr. Ashutosh Bhandekar says, Nishant handling $1 billion like pocket change. Well, आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर दूध दही. Ashutosh Bhandekar sir, Ashutosh Bhandekar ji, may all your wishes come true. May all your words come true. May I handle $1 billion like pocket change. That would be amazing. That would be very, very nice. Very nice. Thank you for saying that. But unfortunately, that's not true right now. Gotta be realistic, man. Moving on. But yeah, if Lenskart essentially values itself at $7 billion, I will have something to do with it. It's not aggrandizement. It's not brag. I'm not saying it in a braggadocious way, but I was the only person on the internet who pointed out that Lenskart was terribly overvalued, and I gave an entire sectoral view, and that essentially changed the perspective. All the media houses were talking about how Lenskart deserves that value of $10 billion, but I was there. So if they devalue themselves, or let's say bring them down by $7 billion, $3 billion what the retail investors are going to save, hopefully, right? I'll be in a small way responsible for that, which is beautiful, which is very nice. Aurobindo promoters are raising 2,000 crores for funding realty projects. Everybody wants to enter real estate. India has a lot of scope as far as real estate. What I'm hoping for is that this real estate action happens in tier 2, tier 3 cities more, because that's going to lead to affordable work. But the problem is that the companies won't be incentivized to do the affordable housing play, because that's not where the money is, right? So if you're raising like 2,000 crores, 3,000 crore, you want the project to make like a lot of money, right? And you'll be able to make a lot of money if you have like ultra premium, premium luxury, and so on and so forth kind of real estate projects. So that's why all the money is flowing in where it already exists. As there's a French saying, right? You only lend to the rich. And then there's also a Bible Matthew's effect, right? It says the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, right? So where the money is, that's where the money goes, unfortunately. But hope, we can find a way around that. Moving on. Exporters in Gift City can retain Forex proceeds for 3 months, making it easier. Lower fund cost to lift NBFC's margin, MSME stress says. Net interest margins to improve by 20 basis points. Gold loan financiers to shine even as weaker lenders face a demand drag. So Muthoot Finance gold loan arm crossed an AUM of 2 lakh crores. right? Because when gold rises, right, the buying of it can come down, but loans against it will go up, right? And because the whole financial system is looking tricky, that loan is a very good way to earn money for all sorts of people, right? So that's what's going on. Moving on, HCL's earnings came out, folks. Pretty much the same thing. Revenue up 10.7% in Q2, rakes in 100 million from AI alone. Now that's a pretty good positioning of the company's earnings report. If there was a headline, it's the best headline. Beats estimate, top line growth driven by engineering and R&D, software biz declines. Right? Reported a net profit of 4,000 crores on revenue of 31,900 crores. So that's what's going on. Headcount challenges remain. This is the first IT company to come out with its earning, its beaten estimates, and a lot of it which is coming from engineering, R&D, and AI. Software business, of course, looks weak, which is exactly what was supposed to happen. No surprises there. The hope these companies find a way to pivot, to change course as the fundamental business becomes weak and weak, right? So what the chief of HCL says is that the companies have taken a lot of AI, right? Because it was so hyped. So they've gotten a lot of AI, but now they have to make it work, which is where we come in. So that's a good sell. That's a fair sell. Moving on, we've talked about government committee on nuclear power. ONGC plans launch of oil trading business in F1 FY27. Oil trading business. ONGC plans to launch its oil trading business in the next financial year in partnership with an international firm targeting an annual profit of $1 billion. Right? Aims to consolidate on one platform the extensive crude oil purchases. So everybody is doing that. Trading businesses. If you look at not an analogy, but a lot of established businesses dealing with commodities have created platforms and successfully. So JSW created that platform for steel, the e-commerce thing, right? That's working out well. They're raising money. It's valued at $1 billion. Obviously, revenue is huge when it comes to plays like these, the commodity high volume play. Profitability profile is very thin, but since it's a volume play, it manages. So ONGC is gonna get on that train. We've talked about retail inflation. Vijay Mallya drops a plea to annual bankruptcy order in UK. So not great news for Mr. Mallya. He was in that Raj Shamani podcast where he tried to justify running away from the country, and he said, I'm not, they should take him back, but his case was very weak, very weak. It's not that he didn't pay the debt, or there was a problem that he paid the debt later or whatever. It's about running away from the country and paying when you can or when you should, but not doing that. So he was involuntarily, Mr. Mallya. So I've written a huge article about it. It's not that he paid out of goodwill, right? It was essentially he did everything he could to not pay the debt, and then he essentially ran away from the country. Contrasting that to, let's say, JP, right? JP stayed in the country, helped authorities recover whatever they could recover, piece by piece, and so on and so forth. Cooperated with the, with all the authorities, the whole NCLT play, the insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings. Did it with a lot of honor, but not Mr. Mallya. And now his bankruptcy proceeding annulment has dropped. He's dropped it. So that's going to take over. Moving on. PM Gati Shakti portal open to private sector. So Gati Shakti portal is a platform that the government has created, which gives access to many data sets, 230, covering socio-physical assets. So companies can plan better, from point A to point B. They can look at all the logistics available and so on and so forth, and the quality of those logistics, which can be used for them to essentially plan where they want to set the factory, or how they want to uh, plan the logistics and so on and so forth, right? So Gati Shakti was a very uh, ambitious project for infrastructure planning and capex planning, and that's open to private sector. This thing was begun in 2021. That's when the vision came out, and now it's cool. Moving on. Third of textile exports firms turnover drops 50%. So textile is obviously not green. 80% of respondents reported experiencing an extended credit cycle across supply chain due to impact of tariffs. So Trump tariffs are really hurting the textile exporters. Very sad, but not surprising. Moving on. PF withdrawal norms relaxed. Now, why do you think PF withdrawal norms are relaxed? Provident Fund withdrawal norms, right? Any clue, folks? We've talked a lot about this. What do you think is the reason for PF's withdrawal norms getting relaxed? 25% contribution to be minimum balance. 75% of PF corpus can be withdrawn for education, marriages, and medical purposes. It's to unlock money, right? Moving on. Direct tax collection has increased 11.9 lakh crores in FY26 so far. Speaking of tax, folks, a smartphone manufacturing industry have come out with a report saying all the GST that they deposit to the government, and the numbers are exactly what we calculated, using that paper napkin math that we did. So what did we think was the GST contribution of smartphone industry? You remember that? You remember that discussion? We did it long ago, where we talked about whether government will take away the GST from smartphones. 18% right now. Will it come down to 5%? Will the government take that GST hit on smartphones? And I said, if you remember, it was very unlikely, because government makes a lot of GST on smartphones, right? And it's going to lose, like, the total GST hit right now, which the government is supposed to take, it somewhere around 48,000 crores because of all the rationalization that it has done. Smartphones alone have that order of GST, right? So how did we did that math? We said 150 million smartphones sell in the country every year. 150 million, that's 15 crore smartphones sell every year. Let's take an average smartphone price to be 10,000 rupees. It's not the right thing, but just for math, right? 10,000 rupees means that you're making 1,800 rupees, right? As GST. The government is making 1,800 rupees. Let's say it's 2,000 rupees. 2,000 rupees times 15 crores, right? So we calculated somewhere around 30,000 crores of GST, or I guess it was some 40,000 crores of GST from smartphones themselves, right? Just smartphones. And today they came out with a report and they confirmed it. So we were very, very right. We were very right. Let me tell you the exact number for these people. Smartphone manufacturing. They're basically wanting the PLI is coming to an end. Smartphones may contribute to over 3 lakh crore in taxes during PLI years. GST contributions in FY pegged at 65,000 crores amidst rising production and exports. Now, why 65,000 crores and now 40,000 crores that we calculated? Because that we only calculated the GST for the domestic market, right? But a lot of smartphones also go for exports, so that's also contributes to the tax play. So what essentially these people are trying to come at is that we pay a lot of GST and PLIs should be continued, but the government is pretty hell bent that it doesn't want the PLI to continue in the smartphone manufacturing play because it's paid enough. That's the government's perspective. Do you agree? Do you think the government should continue the PLI in smartphone manufacturing, given that the smartphone manufacturing in India has reached a very, very solid scale, right? It's reached a very significant scale. So if you look at the scale right now, smartphone production up at 5.4 crores in FY21 from 2.1 lakh crore in FY20. So in FY20 it was 2.1 lakh crore. In FY25 it's 5.45 lakh crores. So it's grown more than twice. in 5 years, right? And GST revenues rose from estimated 38,000 crores from FY21 to 61,000 crores in FY25. So that's smartphone manufacturing. But the beauty is that you don't even need to know these numbers. If you can think, if you can analyze, right? And if you have some bits of information, you can just do a paper napkin math and you can figure out what the government or what the numbers are. That's pretty cool. Moving on. We've talked about the FDI policy for retail. And we are also running out of time. So we'll move forward very quickly. There's a lot of action happening in AI, of course. The chief of Tinder Match Group, right? Tinder, Hinge, and OkCupid. Match Group owns OkCupid. He's said perhaps the least insightful thing that I've read in a very, very long time. So he said, urban singles more open to online dating. So how out of 10, how insightful was that for you? The CEO, or let's say the head of Tinder, he's what? The VP? Let me check his position, this guy. Roth. Mr. Roth. Senior VP of Trust and Safety. So Senior VP of Trust and Safety of a Match Group says that urban singles more open to online dating. He could have said the sky is blue, and that would have been just as insightful as this, right? Of course, urban singles are more open to online dating. What do you expect? Rural singles to be more open to online dating? Come on, man. Come on. Moving on. Nokia is doing a lot of deals in India. Nokia is not the phone company anymore, unfortunately. Nokia is into this wireless telecom equipment maker, finalizing partnerships in banking, utilities, defense sector. So a lot of deals happening, right? Data center capacity has grown from 350 megawatts to 1,263 megawatts. Nokia is going to be a part of it. Enterprise networking market stood at 16 billion, right? Projected to be 22 billion, and so on. Expanding into enterprise and hyperscaler segments. So that's what's going on with Nokia. There's a huge 40 under 40 thing. I wasted my time. I used to think of 40 under 40 and 30 under 30, right, as something important. But 30 under 30 essentially turned out to be a crime play. So a lot of people who were awarded Forbes 30 under 30, right, they turned out to be actual criminals. Like they got caught because of, some financial frauds and stuff. So if you're a 30 under 30, chances of you being a financial fraudster are very, very high. Who knew? So, and even in this 40 under 40, it's such a PR exercise, unfortunately. They have Mr. Madhav Singhania, who's the joint ND and CEO of JK Cements. So he is the Singhania scion, right? JK Cement, he's probably related to Mr. Yadupati Singhania, who's the, chief of JK Cements. He unfortunately passed away, rest in peace. So Mr. Jay Kotak, who's obviously the son of Mr. Uday Kotak, right? And a lot of people, right? Managing director of some big short firms. So most of it is PR. And now it's boring, frankly. And with that, that was not the right, right moment to end. But that's boring. It wasn't the right moment to end, but that's what we've come to the end of the 141st episode of Thinkers Frequency, folks. 141, right? It needs to grow. Please help in whatever ways you can. I don't know what you can do, frankly, but you share it on your WhatsApp status or wherever you want to share it. I don't know. You can, I'm not an expert in this, but do whatever you can to grow this, right? We have like 10 people, 12 people, 15 people every day. Not cool. Not cool after 141 episodes, right? So please help. Praise in public. I need to thank Mr. Abhishek Sharma, Mr. Ashutosh Bhandekar, Mr. Amrit Raj, Madam Mohika Sehgal, Miss Mohika Sehgal, Mr. Sumant Kumar, uh, and everybody else who joined, right? Everybody else who joined. Thank you. This brings us to the end of the 141st episode, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis, which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. It's 9:17. We are late. We're gonna punch in ASAP, right? Uh, uh, we're gonna punch in. I wish you a great day. Mr. Abhishek Sharma says, overall, there are over 100 views on earlier sessions, so a lot of people do watch. Thanks and have a great day. Yeah, please have a beautiful day, everybody. See you tomorrow. I hope to see you tomorrow, same place, same time. Take care. Bye bye.